Get in the know, non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Vikings Vent Line every Sunday right here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and podcast feed, where we just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die. Vikings Vent Line is your show. That's right. It's a show for Vikings fans right here on Purple Daily. We're one of the most interactive shows in all the country, to be honest. We like to give a platform to Vikings fans to talk about the upcoming season, talk about the off season, plenty of things to talk about. So if you're a Vikings fan and you want to get on this show, hit me up. It is VikingsVentLine@gmail.com. I'll put you in queue. I got people already kind of lined up for the next few weeks. But if you'd like to come on a future episode, please hit me up. It's VikingsVentLine@gmail.com. Last minute cancellations happen too, so just shoot me a note if you'd like to come on a show. It's VikingsVentLine@gmail.com. Of course, Purple Daily presented by our friends at TCL. Enjoy more of what you love with TCL and get yourself a TCL TV as football season nears. We are less than 2 months away. We're coming up on training camp here. The dwells of the offseason are finally over, and we get to talk about some football. But before we do that, I'm going to have my guys, John and Frank, here come on the show and talk about upcoming expectations and whatnot. So I'm very excited to talk to them to get their opinion on things. But yes, we are almost through this here. Vikings Vent Line, the regular edition, will return the moment after week 1 ends between the Vikings and Buccaneers at US Bank Stadium. If you haven't heard of Vikings Vent Line, Mackie and Judd and myself, Phil Mackey, Judd Zolgad, that is, like to come on and bring as many Vikings fans on to talk about the game. It's a great time, one of the best times. It gets me juiced up every single time after a Vikings game ends. The real fun begins, obviously, on Vikings Vent Line. So we're getting closer and closer to that. So really excited for football season to be here. All right, pleasantries aside, let's get my guys John and Frank in here to talk about the upcoming season. John, you have a nice professional setup there. I know you're Viking gamer even in your little game tag at the bottom there. So you got a professional setup. Frank has the great memorabilia behind him. He was even showing me he has the same Vikings pennant that Judd dons from his home studio. Frank, that is an awesome man cave. How many years worth of stuff basically is just in the background there, man?
A couple decades.
Yeah.
A couple decades worth, yeah.
I love it. And then, what do we got here, John? Little like
got a little
Vikings horn.
Yep.
Is that the only problem with that is like, I see you have it on a stand off mic. Cause like, how would you even put that when it wasn't in your hand though?
Yep.
That'd be
I actually just got it off Amazon, but it comes in the stand.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I spill way too many things, so I would spill that over, but I would love one of those. I would love one of those. So that's an awesome little souvenir you got there. Well, fellas, let's get into it right here on Vikings Vent Line. John, I'm going to start with you, man. I've been asking a lot of Vikings fans kind of their expectations. So just kind of broadly here, after coming off a 13-win season, rookie year of head coach Kevin O'Connell, you're entering year 2 now. What are your expectations for the Vikings in 2023?
I don't expect them to win 13 games. I know there's a lot of people that we're going to do just as good. No, we're going to have a little bit of not much of a setback, but I think the most games to win is probably 10 games. Okay. I don't see us doing any worse. We may go down to 8, but if anything, we're not gonna have that top 10 pick. We're always going to be that mid-range where the Vikings always seem to lie. We're always in that 20 to 14 range. We're never going to get that top 10 pick. But I think the Vikings offense is going to be really good this year, and I think we're going to be at least mid-tier range for defense.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. So the step back from a record-wise, just because it's probably inevitable with regression, but the offense should still be humming. So you have high expectations then for the defense. You think it can really make that jump from being one of the worst units in the NFL the last few years to being kind of a mid-tier defense? You think can actually go from point A to basically point B overnight?
Well, I don't think it can go there overnight. I think it's going to take throughout the season. But if you watch the Vikings defense last year, we barely blitzed. And that's Harry Hitman's style. Like, we need to get Harry the Hitman back into the defense. We didn't have him last year. Now that we got Brian Flores coming in, now we got the physicality of Andrew Booth coming in. He was a physical athlete in college. Lewis Seam was a physical athlete. I mean, obviously, Judd said Josh Metellus was involved. So it's going to be interesting. We got a lot of factors, and I think we can do some damage.
I love it. Frank, how about you, man? What are your expectations for the Vikings this coming season?
Those are all great takes, John, by the way. I'm tempered as well with my expectations. I just don't see us pulling out 3 or 4 magical wins this year. I mean, you talk about out of the fire, playing with a horseshoe in your shorts. That's what we did last year. Our defense has been so bad the last 3 years. So Vegas has us. I think Declan said 8.5 the other day when I was watching the podcast, and I'm thinking 9 or 10 is what I'm thinking. But I reserve the right to modify that after preseason. I want to kind of see how the new defense is kind of going. But I'm thinking right around 10, and maybe if the defense can step up, as John mentioned, maybe we can kiss that 11 or 12 win season. But it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it just feels like they'll run out a little bit of that magic you just talked about, Frank. That, I mean, 8 fourth quarter comebacks, that was exhilarating and it was nerve wracking, but it's hard to do that year in and year out. I guess, Frank, do you see a sign where maybe they come down in wins a little bit, but they're a much more polished team? There's polished games. You're not, racing against the clock. You're not having the last minute drive. Do you see a situation where maybe it's actually a much more well-rounded team, and there isn't that really fluke nature that was kind of around the Vikings that a lot of national media said they had last season?
Absolutely. I think that's an extreme possibility. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think if they put together the right formula and their defense improves, and just if Kevin O'Connell tweaks some things here and there, that they could really make that jump. John, do you still see that Vikings offense being a top 10 unit again? I think they were like 9th in points last year. Is there another level for them to get to in 2023? Or are you kind of expecting the same type of thing?
I think they'll do better. I mean, we had the leftovers of Adam Thielen, which he wasn't. If you watched last year, he was not the same Adam Thielen we've seen throughout the years with Stephon Diggs and then early Justin Jefferson. Like, wasn't the same Adam Thielen, but now we got Jordan Addison. I think he's gonna bring a breath of fresh air into this offense. Plus, we got JJ, KJ, TJ, all of that, and then we got Jordan Addison, and then the running back by committee. I think this offense is going to be explosive. Top 10 guaranteed offense this year.
If Addison can stay out of jail, I seen he got arrested.
That's also a good one too. Maybe don't go $140 down.
I saw it was a speeding ticket. I don't think he got arrested yet.
Yeah, I don't know how that was possible, but yeah, maybe hit the brakes. We usually like to say don't pump the brakes sometimes on some takes or on situations. Really, let's pump those brakes.
Even without Jordan Addison, I think Naylor can step up too.
Yep.
I am very interested to see what Naylor can do.
Yeah. Frank, do you like the running back by committee approach, or do you think that this running game will be more effective with Alexander Mattison kind of being the bell cow? How do you look at that running game without Dalvin Cook now?
I think we'll be fine. I do. I think the committee approach is the right approach. I think it's the trend in the NFL as we shift to a passing game. I really think we'll be okay. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they'll just run it more effectively. They didn't run the ball a lot last year in general with Dalvin Cook, which I thought was weird. So is that a more balanced approach? Does that number go up a little bit more? Are they not passing all the dang time? And just have a more well-rounded offense instead, again, having the best fourth quarter offense, which they did last year. I think they have that step in them to go from a more, fluky nature to being a well-rounded offense basically overnight.
I think the head coach said he wants to be more efficient in his running game, and I think that's what they'll strive to achieve. I know Dalvin, I think, led the league in going down after first contact. He just didn't get much yards last year after contact.
Yeah, if Madison kind of be a little bit more healthier, running backs get a lot of miles in the tires. So we'll certainly see if that efficiency rating and that effectiveness can kind of go up from a season ago. John, do you think by the end of his career, by the end of it, that Justin Jefferson is actually going to be one of the best, or not one of, the best wide receiver in Vikings history? There's a lot of them. I mean, Randy Moss comes to mind. Chris Carter comes to mind. Obviously, guys like Thielen and Diggs were also very good wide receivers. I'm sleeping on a few. I know I am. But do you think by the end of it, Justin Jefferson, even though it's still early, will be the best receiver in Vikings history?
I mean, in our era, Dex, because I know we're close in age, of course he's going to be the best. Look at the track record he's on. He only needs 200 yards to be the leading receiver for the Bears. I mean, Justin Jefferson, if he keeps this trajectory going with where he's at now, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think the only thing, and this is like a small thing, he doesn't have like the big down the field ability that I think we see from a lot of other wide receivers. It does not, I don't knock that for him. He's still an incredible wideout. He gets open and he makes big plays happen, but he definitely doesn't have that deep threat ability like we saw from Moss. We even saw from Diggs at times. it's like the one element. Now he gets doubled all the dang time. Hard to go deep when you're being doubled like that, and people can't throw it your way. But yeah, I mean, I remember Prime Moss, and obviously guys like Chris Carter, Jake Reed were just a little bit before my conscious time. I remember who they were, of course, but I think he's on a really good path. Frank, you've seen a lot of good wide receivers, I guess, too. You can kind of trump both of us. Do you think he's on the path to being the best Vikings wide receiver of all time?
He is. He is on the path. Now, who's the quarterback?
Right.
Who's the quarterback going to be the next 5 years of his career? Is it some stiff, some slappy? Are they bringing in Spurgeon Wynn who can one-hop the carpet into your shins at 1,000 miles an hour? Or, are they bringing in bad Tavares Jackson? Who are they bringing in? Are they going to draft a kid that's going to struggle for a year or two? Is Cousins going to be back? And I'm okay with Cousins coming back. I'm not a big Cousins guy, never have been, but I'm okay with him coming back. I thought he played pretty good last year. Mm-hmm. So he could do it. He's got the talent. Is he going to stay healthy? And if you watch the Netflix show, I mean, he was getting popped too. Oh, yeah. I mean, he was getting drilled. And he's not a big guy. He's frail, of a smaller frame, I should say. Not frail. He's a tough kid, I know. But, I mean, it's just, we've seen what happened to Adam. I know he breaks down with injuries and stuff. So he could do it. He could do it.
Yeah, life after Kirk's really interesting. I mean, John, do you think that this is the last year of Kirk Cousins? Do you think that there's an extension coming even before or after the season? What do you look at the future with the quarterback position with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings?
I don't know. I was on the same thing with Jed. I wanted to tear it down and just go for Trey Lance and see what he can do. For Kirk Cousins, I think so. I was talking to a friend and he thought it was reasonable too. Sign Kirk back for another year, and then go and get what's his name, Shadir Sanders, Deion Sanders kids from Colorado.
Okay,
I like watching him play. He's really good. He can extend plays. He can rush the ball. He's really good. I would. That's what I would do because there's no way we're getting Caleb Evans. He's either going to the Bucs or the Cardinals.
Right.
That's where I can see him going.
Yeah, it feels like unless they have just a catastrophic amount of injuries early on, that their chances of getting like a top 5 pick are just slim to none. Their roster, at least their offense especially, is way too good for them to be that bad. But yeah, it's a predicament to Frank's point.
And neither JJ or Kirk gets hurt.
Right.
That's one thing that I love about this team is that JJ has never gotten. I don't think he's ever gotten hurt.
No, I don't
think so. He's been here, and Kirk has only been out for a play in Washington.
Yeah, they've been Iron Man. But yeah, to Frank's point, if Justin Jefferson wants to sign an extension here, he's going to definitely want to know who the heck the quarterback is, and will he sign off on that? Now, money talks, so he might get a big bag and just say, "Hey, I'll take it," and I'll take my lumps with potentially a bridge guy or rookie guy as we figure out the long-term solution if they indeed move on from Kirk Cousins. But that's a predicament that they kind of got to figure out. Frank, so you're okay with giving Kirk Cousins another extension if all the stars align and he has another good year?
I'm okay with it. Yeah, if they get the right price point, it's got to be the right price, and realizing his age. But he is a tough guy. Watching that Netflix show really opened my eyes to that, and I don't think I ever gave the guy enough credit for that. I mean, I knew he was a decent human being. You could just sense that. Mm-hmm. You could tell he was a good dad, good father, and all that. But the toughness of that guy, that really shined through on that series.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive line, they have 2 great tackles, obviously, in Darrison and Brian O'Neill, but that interior is still shaky, right? I mean, it feels like the line is the best it's probably been in the last few years, but there are 2 kind of weak spots there on those guards, and if Bradbury kind of reverts back to the player he was the first 3 years of his career, I mean, that could be just serious trouble. So, yeah, I mean, Kirk's tough. He's taken a ton of licks. It's probably the thing, that to his credit, that he doesn't get talked about enough for him, because he does get hit a ton. And yeah, we saw that in the Netflix doc that his ribs were definitely hurting by the halfway point through the season. He basically played right through it. But how they want to basically figure out their future at that quarterback position, the most important position in sports, is probably going to be the toughest thing that they got to figure out in the draft, or whatever they want to do post the Kirk Cousins era. Yep. Fellas, I would love to hear some 3 under the radar Vikings players that you had growing up. And John, I'll start with you here. I know you said you and I were the same age, so we're in the same ballpark a little bit, but I would love to know who are 3 under the radar type of guys. These guys can be, guys who may be household names or put up big stats, but guys that in your formable years or even in your adulthood that you always thought were really solid and kind of never got the full credit that they deserved.
Yep. So I'm going to name 1 through 3, and I'm going to talk about them too. So number 1 is Marcus Sherrills. I love Marcus Sherrills. He's a hometown dude. He actually went to my high school for a semester, which is weird. But yeah, he's from around here. So it was really cool seeing somebody coming from around my area and actually make it. And he was a very stable punt returner, which we take for granted more often than we do not. And then the second one is Jim Kleinsasser. I loved Jim Klein. Just the name Jim Kleinsasser. Yep. He was a really good tight end / fullback / halfback. He was kind of like an all-in-one sort of thing. And then Brian Robinson. I love Brian Robinson. Yeah. He actually had me fall in love with the rushing game after John Randall, because I watched a little bit of John Randall, but not a lot of it. And I actually got to go to one of his fishing things that he used to do.
That's right. Yep. Big fisherman outside of the game. Yeah. I forgot how long B-Rob was here once Judd did his list for that Thursday episode. That I was like, holy crap! I kind of
just watched that too.
Yeah, I forgot that he was here from 07 to 17. He kind of remember him at his peak more in the decade part of the 2010s, but you don't remember him being here since 2007. And it ended up being a really, really good player. Yeah, Jim Kleinsasser. I mean, come on. There's a whole generation of younger of us that have never heard of Jim Kleinsasser and probably never really understand it because his position's essentially it's extinct. I know that CJ Ham is the closest thing, and there are two different players. Like Jim Kleinsasser and CJ Ham were not the same player, but that's the closest thing. Frank, how about you, man? You obviously you've seen a lot of Vikings football too. Who are 3 under the radar guys that you really liked?
Yeah, those are great picks, John. And B-Rob, he was woefully underrated. Woefully, 96 questions with B-Rob.
Yeah.
Yes. I was gonna say
that was overrated. That was underrated. That was way underrated.
That was best talk show Vikings ever had.
I've got 3 for you as well. I'll start with number 3. I have a tie here at number 3. I have Sammy White and Jake Reed. Okay. They were Robin to Ahmad Rashad's Batman and to Chris Carter and Randy Moss's Batman. So both great receivers. I feel like woefully underrated. Sammy White and Jake Reed. At number 2, I've got another 2 guys that are tied. And what's the most underrated position in all of sports? It's offensive lineman, right? Mm-hmm. If quarterback's the most important, then offensive lineman's got to be the most underrated. So I got 2 guys. I got Corey Stringer and Phil Loadhole. Both played for 6 years for the Vikings and overshadowed by guys down at Dallas because Dallas was winning Super Bowls and Dallas was in playoffs. And Phil played 6 years before he got hurt, had to retire, and Corey played 6 years and then passed on, taken from us too soon. But those 2 are really good players that never got the credit or the pub I felt like they deserved. And my number 1 guy, the most underrated Viking of all time. He's so underrated that they didn't have him in the Hall of Fame just yet, Jim Marshall.
Yeah.
That guy has a Hall of Fame career. He gets dinged on the wrong way fumble for the touchdown. The Vikings won that game, by the way, and in large part by what Jim Marshall did at the end of that game. But he gets unfairly dinged for running the wrong way and scoring a touchdown for the other team, San Francisco, I believe. Jim Marshall deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's woefully underrated, and I'll pound the table for him.
Yeah, I mean, everyone unfortunately knows him as the guy that ran the wrong way, but you're right. I mean, he has a Hall of Fame resume. If that doesn't happen, he's basically a surefire thing Hall of Famer. Those are great lists too. I mean, in general, Corey Stringer was an incredible tackle. Phil Loadhole was a great tackle. I remember just the end of Jake Reed and whatnot too. And he was obviously a very good Robin. Yeah. To those Batman of wide receivers. Yeah. Those are all great lists, fellas. I love those lists. And yeah, kind of 2 different generations there coming together that a lot of Vikings fans have seen. And yes, Jim Marshall definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm 100% with you there. Fellas, before we wrap up here, any last takes, John? Any last shout outs you'd love to give here on Vikings Vent Line?
Well, I know Judd has been having a hard time trying to find his sunglasses and, trying to find what he wants to get. I suggest these Battle Visions I got this from Walmart. They come in 2 packs, and if you put them on over the glasses, they look just fine. You don't even think you have anything on. So
look good.
Judd, get these. Also, I was wondering if I could shout out my Twitch. I'm doing a charity stream all week next week.
Cool.
All right, so yeah, I'm doing a streamer showdown, Twitch versus Kick thing. I'm raising money for the Epilepsy Foundation. I have epilepsy, and I just want to pay back what I have gotten. So I'm going to be doing that all week from the 23rd to the 30th, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome, man. That's sweet. Good for you, dude. Yeah. Go check him out. What's your Twitch handle, by the way?
Twitch.tv/VikingGamer4334.
There you go. So if you want to check that out, go for it and do it. Frank, how about you, man? Any last takes or shout outs you'd love to give here on Vikings Vent Line?
Just a shout out to you guys at Purple Daily for putting on great content. I love your show. I started watching back in March of 2020, and I watch every night, and I just enjoy it. And anybody that I could give a shout out to is already dead. So I'm too
just
old,
one before we die, right?
Just one before we die. I'll show you my shirt quick here.
Yeah, someday.
So my shout out is to you guys, and tell Judd I'll spring for half the steaks at Manny's.
Will do. I'll let him know that one. I can do that. Sunglasses and steaks for Judd. I can glad 100%.
Also, I'm going to be at Raw on
nice,
the
man.
7th. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. That's going to be a heck of a show. Glad to hear
that.
Yeah. Love it. If anyone wants to come on a future episode of Vikings Vent Line, hit me up. It is vikingsventline@gmail.com. Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.